Well, we've got ourselves a gorgeous little sunset, and I have a lot of stuff going right now. I got to go check out the state of the driveway because my tractor got stuck the other day, and I deployed some ice melt. But I wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to get a bunch of stuff off my mind that's been on my mind. That was just going to be a fraction of the stuff that's on my mind, but there's so much to say and only so many videos that people will watch. So we're just going to get all the water over the dam here. The other day, I spent about 2 hours praying for all of the people, praying for all the people, full stop. I started that prayer thinking about and talking with the Lord about all the people who've donated. And, I'm deeply affected by that. In more ways than one. In more than one meaning of the word. Man, it's so beautiful out here. I don't know if you can see that. No, you can't. It just... Well, that's a good life lesson right there. So the light oversaturates the lens of the camera, but there's a beautiful sunset with all these details in the yellow and the white and the other colors on these clouds. It's just beautiful. There's a stream from a jet going across, but man, that's beautiful. So I prayed and I talked to the Lord about all of you, and I said a lot of things. I can't reproduce it here in any way that wouldn't be grossly blasphemous, meaning the opposite of glorify. To glorify God is to make his goodness known more than... I'm sorry, hold on. It's just, it's really beautiful out here, and I'm thinking about that prayer, and I'm a little overwhelmed at the moment. To glorify means to make God's goodness known beyond what it was before. And blaspheme is the opposite of that, actually. It's the direct opposite of that. It's to reduce the perception of God's goodness. And if I were to try to relate to you the contents of that prayer, it would be blasphemous. In detail, anyway. It would just be grossly blasphemous. But in the content of that prayer was included a lot of things were included, and I'm deeply affected by the there's so many different adjectives. Thank you. I'll just say thank you. Thank you. And I know you're all in different situations, and it's hard to sum that up, but just thank you. And I want to tell you that I also prayed for the people that have not donated. And there are two camps there. One are the people that feel that God would like them to spend their money otherwise. And I ask that he would bless you, because we should all take very seriously the stewardship we have over the resources that he's blessed us with. I'm testing the ice on my hill here, the driveway. And so I ask God to bless you for your care and concern over the resources that he's blessed you with. And I also ask the Lord to bless those of you who think that I'm doing the wrong thing in this, or who've even gone as far as to accuse me of doing wickedness. And I ask the Lord that if there's a price to pay to help you see more of the goodness of God, that he would bless me to be able to pay that. And we'll see. We'll see if he does. I wanted to share a story of a friend of mine, and I have to admit and apologize, I'm very bad at perceiving time the way that other people do for the last few years. I call it the blur. The Lord has had me in things that are so different and so intense that I just don't see time the same way other people do. And I got a call actually from a different friend the other day, and he said it's been a really long time. I said, no, it hasn't. He said, yes, it has. I said, when's the last time we talked? It's been a year. I mean, it can't have been more than 3 years. It's been about 3 years. And then he proceeded to prove to me that it's been 10 years. And I was just shocked. I couldn't believe it. So that's the blur. Anyway, I have a different friend, and she told me a few years ago, it's probably like 5 years ago, she was convinced that she would be very offended if I called her older, but she's older. She has kids, and her kids are of an age where this is possible, but she felt like she needed to go back to school. And I'll try to anonymize this as much as I can. She felt like she needed to go back to school. We have arrived at the tractor, and I didn't break my neck, so that's the treacherous hill. It's a lot steeper than it looks. She was convinced that she needed to go back to school, and she had reasons for that. She shared with me the reasons. She's a very inspired lady, and the Lord spoke to me as she was telling me all this, and I told her on more than one occasion. I pushed as hard as I could, and I said, that's not what you want to do, trust me. Here's all the reasons why that's a really bad idea. It's not going to turn out the way you want it to. It's not going to deliver to you what you are seeking by doing this. And she was convinced that the Lord had told her to do this, and I saw why she felt that way, and I really tried to help her see that that wasn't the case, and she did it anyway. And fast forward to now, and a while back, she was, I won't say afflicted, but she found herself suddenly with an extraordinarily rare and very severe disease. And it's something that the doctors say will be with her for the rest of her life, and it could take her life at any time. And I'm extraordinarily proud of her for how she's taking it all. It's just been absolutely amazing to see her grow so much. And funny, I can laugh with her about things because she's mature enough spiritually that she sees things correctly enough. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but sometimes even in the midst of very, very deep affliction, it's a sign of holiness to be able to joke around about it. It's one reason why people that have been through quite a bit of suffering are absolutely terrible at comforting other people because, they'll crack jokes. And some people just aren't ready for that. It's actually one of the best ways to disarm the power of a situation that lies far below the goodness of God, as all afflictions do, and it puts it in its place. Because if you knew the love of God, if you were standing in his presence, it'd be very hard to be damaged by even the most severe affliction. You'd see it for what it is, and you could laugh about it. So it's a sign of holiness to be able to feel the deepest empathy for suffering while also recognizing it for what it is, and disempowering it through cracking jokes. I don't know. That's probably a dangerous thing to play with, but it is how it is. That's the truth. So, don't try this at home. Anyway, I I was talking to her, and while she was talking to me, she's giving me a report on everything. This is just so beautiful. I cannot believe it. Wow. It's such a shame you can't see that. Nope, it's just washed out. There's so many colors. It's beautiful. Whew. So, sometimes things are so beautiful here on Earth that aletheia is the Greek word for truth, and it means that which cannot be hidden. And the goodness of God is so great that even the Almighty God can only do so much to hide it from us. See, all of creation is designed to hide it from us so that we can have the opportunity to make choices where what is right is, I gotta turn around, it's too much. Where what is right is so obvious that it doesn't provide a test to us, and we're here to choose of our own volition that which is good, so that we, under constraints, under great challenges that are completely manufactured, so that in the eternities we can feel greater joy knowing that we sacrificed something, even though the sacrifice was totally manufactured. Because if we saw things as they were, it wouldn't. See, I gotta see it again. I wish there was a way that you could know and see how good God is, but I understand it has to be this way. There's a process, and if you short circuited it, you couldn't go up in the joy that you feel after this life. It's the neighbor's dog. He's a lot more friendly than he sounds. Okay, so this friend of mine, so I'm a sucker for it. Oh, it's just so beautiful. I'm glad I came down here. I had a feeling I should. Mostly because I felt terrible because I haven't told you thank you for the donations. I felt bad. I felt stuck because there's so much content that needs to get out, and every time I make something I have to interrupt something else because it's all scheduled out for months to come. Anyway, so this friend of mine, she was recounting her situation and just praising God, just pouring out praises to God and telling me all sorts of interesting things that I can't tell you because it wouldn't be anonymous, about she's just crushed the trial. She's just crushed the trial. She wasn't bragging about it. She was praising God in the midst of affliction, that she was saying, you know, all these people around her are just saying, this is so terrible. How are you doing? How are you doing? She's like, I'm great. I'm great. God's got me. Like, I got nothing to complain about. And everybody's just wondering, like, what the heck? And they're feeling very uncomfortable because they've all told her except one person. I want to go into details. One person's had a rough life, we'll say, and also learned the value of things that most people would not want to happen to them. And that person gets it, she said. But I wish I could tell you more details. So she said, I just don't understand. I don't mind. I thank God that he's done all this, but I don't understand why he told me to go through all these things. And now I have this situation where I basically have to drop everything that I trained for years and I was doing. And why did he tell me to do all this if it wasn't going to be long term? And I led her through an elementary version of the lesson there. And there's some really powerful, good things about that, which is, in short, God does not see time the way that we do. He has absolutely no problem in having someone go through 70 years of what they consider to be the hardest trials, just so that they can learn one thing. One thing that we take for granted and think that it could just be handed off. We vastly underestimate how hard our heads are and how narrow the windows are that we give God to teach us, to bless us. They're narrow, narrow windows. They need to get wider. And she was very grateful for that information. I gave her some stories from my life. And then I woke up this morning, I was doing the review of yesterday. It's kind of, there are a lot of days where my days start with reviewing the day before. I don't know if that's like that for you, but usually the Lord retroactively shifts things around. He's basically like, you got that right. That was a much bigger deal than you thought, etc., etc., etc. So it's a good learning time, but he was like, yeah, you said that was good, but here's the other thing, you should have said this actually. I was like, oh, okay. So I wrote her an email, and the lesson was, I said, hey, name withheld. You said, why didn't God tell you? He did. He did. He told you this was a bad idea. And if you recall, I gave you all these reasons why you shouldn't do this. And every single one of them is exactly what happened. And it took years, and now you'll never get those years back. And I said, on the one hand, I'm really proud of you for all the things you've learned and how you've handled this. And you're in a really great place. But on the other, it didn't have to be this way. But if you really want to know the answer to your question, that's it. He did, and you weren't willing to receive it in the only way he could reach you. And I told her, we have very narrow windows of receipt in terms of the ways in which we're willing to receive this information from him. And so he uses the tools that he has, which frequently involve other people. And she missed the boat. So that's how it goes sometimes. I had a lot of other thoughts, and now all I can think about is getting this tractor up this driveway. So I'm going to cut this off. We're at 18 minutes, but the sun is receding for the day. One of the things that I prayed that the Lord would bless all of you with is the righteous desires of your heart. And it's a funny thing to pray for because it's already his will to give it. That's the easiest thing in the world. I tell my kids all the time, I said, you know what the easiest way to get me to do something is? And they say, what? I say, ask me for what you know I already want. Easiest prayer in the world to get an answer to. Well, one of the easiest prayers is, what can I do better? But maybe number two is when you ask God for what he already wants to do. And that's fun because you get to join on his team to do these things that he's going to do anyway. And the blessing is that you get to take part in something that's so much better than you. So thank you for your support. And I can't convey in this medium my gratitude. God shows you things. Well, he showed me exactly how this would go a long time ago, and we had months and months to talk about it because I really, really, really wanted to be sure that I knew that there'd be a lot of people who'd have problems with me accepting donations. It's one of many beliefs that I had at a prior time that he had to correct me on, and he's still correcting me on a whole bunch of things, and I thank him for it. And I knew a lot of people have a problem with it. And I was searching, I did everything I could to find another way. And he shut those doors. So it's a beautiful thing to know that you're exactly where God wants you to be. I don't know that there's a better thing. But anyway, thank you.